So, patch notes seem to have mistakenly gone up on the official MarvelSnap.com website. This link at the top no longer works. However, someone has transcribed them here on Reddit. So we're going to be reviewing notes on Reddit. These have been up and around a bunch of times. So we've got some general updates here at the top. We got multi-upgrade coming in the patch later today, which is super exciting. I would like to not click a bunch to upgrade a card. So multi-upgrade will basically let you take a card through as many upgrade steps as you want in one single click, which sounds lovely. We're getting upgrade with gold in this patch, which doesn't say the ratio here, so you're going to be interested to see exactly what that means. We've got improved avatar selection flow. I wonder if this will add a default. We really need default avatars. I'm tired of having to reselect avatars every single time I make a new deck. When you view an upgradable card in your collection and choose not to upgrade it, it will be marked as red and will no longer increase the red dot notification. Well, that's lovely. All right, card balance updates. Remember, the big change with card balance updates in a patch is that they can change functionality, not just numbers. So Cable is functionally changing from drawing the bottom card to drawing the top card. And this is directly because of the Chavez change where Chavez stays on the bottom of the deck now. So we have Cable can actually draw cards against Chavez decks. I don't think this change matters. I think Cable's probably still a bad card. I think he's definitely still worse than Mirage. Yeah, so it's better against Chavez decks, obviously, but it's fine. All right, Magic. Going from 3-2, you can't play this on turn 6, to on reveal, replace this location with Limbo. Doesn't work after turn 5. This is a much more elegant way to have Magic exist. This actually makes Magic significantly better in decks like Cerebro 2 and Surfer. As someone who's played a lot of both of those decks with this card, there's a lot of situations where like you really wish you could just play her as a 3 energy 2 power thing on the last turn of the game. This is technically a slight nerf to things like Jubilee and Hela and Iron Lad that could make Limbo with Magic on the last turn of the game, but overall I think this change is a huge net positive. It means no more surprise turn 7s. Up next, we have a small functional change to Mr. Negative. So the gameplay, the text is remaining the same, but they're bringing Mr. Negative in line with the peak, which is a good, like, intuitive thing to have. I've actually had this argument / bickering with community members in the past where they're adamant that like Mr. Negative works like the peak. They call out that this makes Jane Foster inside of negative decks less risky, which is accurate. Like, I'm someone who's always disliked having Jane inside of negative decks because of that interaction. So this is a good players expect it to work this way. Let's bring it in line. There's a lot of that in this patch, right? Like, these are not really technically like big changes to the cards, but like players expect this to happen in one way, and now it does basically. Up next, we have Rogue getting kind of a functional update similar to what Mystique had in the previous patch, where she now triggers the on reveals of ongoing cards she steals. This is a very niche situation. It largely just has to do if you're like stealing a soul stone, for example, against Thanos. So this is again kind of just like smoothing around the edges, not really a functional change. Up next, We have Electro technically too. She's technically worse against, or better against, like she's technically better against Electro now. Up next, we have the big change. This change is a huge deal. SpiderMan is a brand new Marvel Snap card. It's going from a 5/4 that makes your opponent not be able to play a card next turn to a 3/5 on reveal, move to another location and pull an enemy card from here to there. Let's read their justification here, and then we can give my opinion on it. All right, this is the big one. Yes, agree. Let's start with the mechanical angle. The previous Spider-Man incarnation was a polarizing card. It prevented your opponents from playing cards at a location, a frustrating experience. It was popular following Wave into Galactus or Lockdown decks, which are both decks that use combinations of cards that reduce the total play space in the game for your opponent. We want some of that. The game needs a variety of strategies, but we don't want those decks or even one of those cards to be the best in the game. And our best card should be cool and awesome. You know who's cool and awesome? Spider-Man's cool and awesome. Agree. There's an irreconcilable dissonance in having one of the most popular characters in Marvel canon attached to an effect that we don't want to be popular. Discovering Spider-Man in our game should be a great experience. Since launch, we've added more Spider-Verse to the game and seen players enjoy the theme and movement for those cards. So we're making a change and bringing Peter in line with the rest with a new ability. We will return the old ability will we return the old ability to the game on a new card? Maybe, but for now, let's go with no. It's not been adding much fun. We don't take this kind of rework to a card lightly. We're happy to hear your feedback through all the usual channels. We don't intend to start suddenly remaking tons of cards, but understand your feelings may help us better understand appropriate thresholds for this action in the future. I really can't even fully put into words how much the way Marvel Snap has managed their game is everything I have wanted out of a digital card game for basically forever. Reading these developer notes, it feels like there's something I could have written. In fact, if you go back and look at a bunch of my content over the past months, I mean, even yesterday, I think there's a clip of me saying cards like SpiderMan should never be the best type of card or strategy in a game. It's just I've said that verbatim, and it's so refreshing to play a game where the developers don't just cave to purely statistics. They give a shit about their game being actively fun. And I get it that fun is subjective, and there's some people out there that all they want to do is lock people out of the game. But it is objectively fair to say that lockout style cards are zero-sum fun game cards. They are a card that creates joy by sucking joy out of someone else. And it's great that they don't want cards that create joy for one person by removing that joy from someone else to not be a core part of their game. So, yeah, I absolutely love this change to Spider-Man. This change in my mind really hammers home that the people making these card changes get what is going on, and they understand what really makes a game fun, and they're not just making changes because of some arbitrary statistic inside of their KPI spreadsheet. They're looking at, they actually play their game, and they look at and they care about how their game feels to play. And honestly, I think that that's one of the reasons why Marvel Snap broke into the card game market long after all these other card games struggled and failed to break into this market. Marvel Snap is a game that in general tends to feel much better to play than other card games because of this kind of design philosophy where they actually really care about how the game feels to play, and they work to avoid these fun is zero sum, I'm having joy by stripping joy away from you. So this is a change that I'm not only happy with this specific change, but this change really hammers home what their design philosophy is aiming to be, and it highlights, in my opinion, how good that design philosophy is for trying to ensure that the game is fun to play, not just for the person winning, but for everybody engaging with the game. The worst types of decks to play against in any card game are the ones that make it so you don't actually get to play your strategy. There's a big difference between I lost to my opponent and because their cards were better than mine or they lined up into mine, and I lost to my opponent and I literally didn't get to play the game while I lost to my opponent. As someone who spent literal decade railing against stuff like Blood Moon in Magic the Gathering, seeing this kind of stuff is phenomenal. There's one more change down here at the bottom for cards. Evolved Thing is moving from afflicting a random enemy card here with -1 power, repeat this twice more, to afflict 3 random enemy cards here with -1 power. High Evolutionary has mostly landed in a healthy spot since we made tweaks to Hulk and Wasp last patch, but this is one more small twist to the dial. Cyclops has been really strong still, but we think keeping him strong at High Evolutionary shells based on ensuring the character with his popularity has a solid and satisfying home. That's fair. The Thing has actually outperformed Scott a bit lately, and this change makes the afflict curve from Wasp to Cyclops and the Thing more elegant. It's also worth noting that this change isn't even a strict downgrade. This change actually makes the Thing better with Abomination and with High Evolutionary. So it's noteworthy this is not a strict downgrade. It's actually better for Abomination. I also think it's noteworthy that this call out on Cyclops here is not just about Cyclops' stats currently. They say they're high, but they're still reasonable. The best Cyclops versions of High Evolutionary were like the Lockout style Cyclops decks with Storm and stuff, and those decks are losing Spider-Man as a Lockout tool. So I think I like leaving Cyclops as is for now to see how the Lockout High Evolutionary decks do in a world post-Spider-Man, basically. So yeah, there's a couple of bug fixes listed here at the bottom. Couple of node issues. But overall, yeah, there really isn't. I feel like it's hard to be too mad about this. Anything in here. I'm sure Lockout players are gonna be mad about this, sure. But as a reasonable card gamer, I like what I see. All right, that's we rambled for 15 minutes. I wasn't sure I was gonna have 8 minutes out of this. We rambled for 15. I had words to say. Let's stop making mouth noises, huh?